My name's Dave Wyatt. I'm a researcher in medieval history from Cardiff School of History and Archaeology at Cardiff University. And I research early medieval history, and I also take care of community engagement for that school. Well, specifically my research is on slavery in early medieval Britain. And I think what motivated me, or what my key motivation was, that no one else had really looked at it in any depth. And that slavery is a very contentious and political and emotive issue, even in the medieval context. That's largely because of, if you like, the modern slave trade. In fact, we're sitting in the environment of that at the moment here in Bristol. The way that abolition occurred, the involvement of the Western Europeans in the modern slave trade has actually impacted on other discourses on slavery in other periods, and the period of medieval Britain in particular. And one thing that always interests me about slavery in medieval Britain is when I say, oh, I'm interested in slavery in Anglo-Saxon England or Wales, people say, oh, I don't realise there were any slaves in this medieval context. And that interests and excites me, I think, because I like the things that are swept under the carpet, the things you don't get taught in school. Those are the things that interest me and attract me. I'm also interested, if you like, in more universals about human nature and the fact that indeed slavery is still with us today, and I'm interested in looking at historical context for that. I think there are points of connection, not least because of this sensitivity over the issue of slavery that remains with us, and that sensitivity remains for a number of reasons, not least because if you like, the abolition of the slave trade has led, if you like, especially in the British context, to Britain being portrayed as the great abolitionist rather than the great slaver. And also this was very much taken up by 19th century historians, many of whom, if you like, created the discourse of history looking at medieval, especially England. People like Freeman and Green, who were widely read to the public at the time, didn't talk about slavery in the medieval context, or if they did, they tried to explain it away. And one of the things that I have done, if you like, in terms of speaking about my research to a wider audience, is to try and relate it to that modern discourse on slavery and the modern sensitivities about slavery, which I think people are very aware of, especially since 2007, when there was a commemoration of the abolition of the slave trade, and a lot of these issues were thrown up. From a research context, well, I think we were talking about this, but I think, you know, engagement from a research context can be completely organic. So it can occur just by your research impacting on people and changing, if you like, opinions and attitudes. I think for me, engagement very much is as well about, if you like, engaging people in terms of hooking them in and if you like, exciting them, but in terms of inciting them in the discipline that I'm interested in. Potentially in raising aspirations and getting people to think about, if you like, oh, I'm interested in history, I want to go and study history. I can't think of anything better than that, and I've set up a foundation pathway that helps adults like myself, because I was an adult learner, to return and, if you like, study medieval and modern history. Well, what we're trying to do is put in place a kind of infrastructure, really, for public engagement in the School of History and Archaeology. And religion, as now we've merged with the School of Religion. And all of those disciplines are great because they're fantastic for engaging people, especially from, if you like, groups who potentially don't normally engage with higher education. People are very often interested in their history. Archaeology is fantastic because it's visceral, it's tangible, and if you like, most people have some kind of religious, if you like, sensibilities, expectations, which are also very engaging. The other thing we're trying to do is to put together and try to link some of the informal things we do, like family learning days and some of the projects, ongoing projects on archaeology, those informal learning, if you like, streams with formal learning routes, like the one I was explaining about earlier, Exploring the Past, Foundation Pathway, so that people can make that jump from the informal to the formal in a way which is supported and flexible and allows them to do that in with if you like, research-led teaching. So, if you like, getting people on that different learning escalator, as it's called, is very important. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to me, it's absolutely crucial, and it's always been fundamentally something that it's been important to me. And I think engagement linked, as I say, with that aspirational change in education is something that I feel really, really passionate about. I used to work in lifelong learning for many years, and that's one of the key reasons for that. But not least, I've learned an awful lot. You know, some of the things I've been involved with, I was involved last year with a colleague from the School of Religion who did a fantastic event called The Art of Integration, which was, if you like, talking about Muslims and how they've integrated into society and the many different shapes that has taken. And that involved, if you like, working with and also talking to a lot of people from the Cardiff Muslim community, which was a real, you know, a really pleasurable and eye-opening experience for me to get different cultural perspectives and opening those kinds of things up. So, you know, I'm kind of always learning on the job really with that particular side of my career. But it does, I think, help me think about some of the research questions that I think about as well. I want to start with a caveat. I don't think that engagement is always necessarily for everybody, and not everybody is amazingly suited. Having said that, for those that do feel that they want to engage, or you know, then I think they could actually find it to be such an enriching experience, and that it will actually potentially change the way they think about them and approach their research. And we often bandy about terms like research-led teaching, which, you know, are important, yes, but actually most people who teach will tell you there's something called teaching-led research, which is, if you like, where the fact that you interact with the class changes your research. The same is absolutely true of engagement, and you know, you can have engagement-led research, and I think that there's a lot of space as well for looking at the ways that we do engagement and researching that in itself, and the ways that we evaluate and take things forward. And I think that's the way things will go in the future, especially, you know, with current directives.